Hello friends, by the end of this particular video, you will be crystal clear with the concept called array in Python. If you look at this particular line, we are giving a call to a special module that array provides by the name called array. And I have created an alias of that module by the name called a. So when you are working on an array, specifically array, in Python, we have to invoke this particular module. Inside this module, we are giving a call to the constructor. Well, array over here is represented as a class, so we are giving a call to a constructor, and this constructor has got two arguments. The first argument is the data type, what type of array data it is going to represent or going to hold. Well, basically array is going to work on the primitive data type, and a very big difference context to array with that of list is that array is homogeneous while list in Python is heterogeneous. That means in each index of the array I have to store integer value. So it can be integer, it can be float, it can be double, but it would have the same data type in every index of the array. I'm creating an empty array right over here, okay, and I'm creating a reference which is of type array. Isn't it clear? So if I go and print the data type, what type it is, so we would be able to see the exact data type of this array that we have created. Usually what we do in context to Python is that we give a call to list, but array does exist, and for that reason we have to give a call to this particular module. So let me demonstrate this particular program where we will perform a CRUD operation, and we are going to implement different functions in order to give a call to the CRUD. Well, I did not create this array inside any function. I made it as a global, so any function that exists in this particular program can work on this reference called ARR. At the very beginning, I've written a menu. I've given a call to the menu function, so let me expand this. Here I have come up with the infinite loop that contains different options from 1 to 6. So if the user is going to select option number 1, that will give a call to the insert underscore element function, so right over here. Well, let's go and run the program to see simultaneously what is happening right over here. So the menu got printed, and it's waiting for the user to enter an option, and I will go with option number 1. As I hit, the control will come right to the function called insert element. So let's expand this and see what this function consists of. Well, as I said, that this array I created outside the function, so it's a global, and that's how you have to access the reference that exists outside a function by the keyword global, because I could declare this array once again inside this, so there would be a local reference, but I don't want to do that. Rather, I want to inform my function that you please access the array that I have declared outside. And look over here, it's showing the type, it is of array. This is the module name, and is giving a call to the class called array, and that's how this type is getting in picture. Hence, one thing is very much clear, that in context to array, we have to give a call to a separate module, which is not required in case of a list, because list comes by default. But when we talk about an array, we have to invoke the array explicitly. And now we are seeing following print statement. As I hit the enter, yes, insert at the end, insert the specific index. Well, array, just like the list, also follows the indexing. That is very similar feature. So let's go with option number 1. As I hit the option 1, my data will come into the choice, and choice will get matched, and it will ask me to enter the element to be inserted. Let's do that. Enter element to be inserted. So let's make it a sequential program. So I'm going with the value 11. As I hit the enter, look over here, the append function also exists in context to a list. The same append function name I'm using in context to an array as well. So just like an empty array which I have created, the item 11 will be added to this particular array. Remember, this is not a list. The symbol is very much like a list, but it is actually an array, and that's the reason why I showed you the data type. It's not a list. So as I hit the enter, the item gets inside the array, and it gets printed that the item has been added. And to display the content of the array, we get an inbuilt function that is called toList. Again, very often you will come across the term list over here, but still you need to remember that we are working not on a list, rather we are working on an array. And as I do that, graphically that represent very much like a list within the wrapped in the third bracket, isn't it? Okay, great. So again, if I want to insert one more item, I will press the value number 1, I hit the enter, and it will ask me to insert at the beginning. Well, I can now go and insert at the specific index. Well, let's continue with option number 1 only, and then I will just shuffle the data. So I will insert a new item, and let's go with the item number, like suppose 22. Yes, that gets inserted, and it has been separated by comma in between both the index. Great. So now let's go and add one item at a specific index. So I'm pressing the option number 1, and it prompts me to enter the sub choice, and that is number 2. I'm going with number 2. I hit the enter, and now it is asking me to enter the element to be inserted. Enter element to be inserted. So it's right over here, enter element to be inserted, and I want to insert like the value, suppose 05. I want to insert this, and then it will prompt me to enter the index. I hit the enter, and it is asking me enter the index. And which index would I have to go for? Well, we know that this is 0, this is 1, and I want to insert the index number 1. Okay, if I want to go for index number 1, then it will be inserted in between 11 and 22. But if I go with index number 0, then it would be at the very first element, and 1 will be pushed to the next one. Let's look over here what I have got. Well, I'm going to give the index, suppose I'm going to give the index number 0. Before I hit the enter, let's see this particular decision making statement. Well, index should be greater than or equal to 0. Well, it is not greater than, but it is equal to 0. And index should be less than the length of the array. How many elements do I have? 2. So that means 0 is less than 2. Condition is true, right? So again, I'm reading out, index should be greater than or equal to 0. Yeah, it is equal to 0. And it should be less than the total length of the array, which is 2. Right. So now we are going to give a call to the insert function. Remember, this insert function also exists in case of a list. So you can see that you're doing the program of an array, but actually internally it is using the functions that are present inside the list. That's cool, isn't it? And in fact, in the list also we have got the insert function with the 2 parameters. The first parameter tells you at which index you want to insert the item, and the second parameter tells you which value to be inserted, and it is following exactly the same pattern right over here as well. So very much similar. And then it will print me that, okay, this item has been added, and now the list would look like this. Okay, great. Let me hit the enter, and as I do that, yes, at 0 index 5 has been added, and now the total list contains 3 elements. So far so good, isn't it? Great. So that's what from the insert element is all about. And now if I want to go and print the option number 2, that is display, what will happen? Well, let's go and click on the option number 2, and as I hit the enter, the control will come right to the option number 2, and it will take me to display underscore array. So let's get into this, and let's see what is there right over here. It's very straightforward, nothing big deal at all. First I'm checking whether, well, again the same thing. Remember, you're working on the global array, so for that reason each function has to use this particular keyword called global, otherwise it will feel like you're dealing with an array that exists within that particular function. In fact, in this particular program, that's not the case. So for that reason, I'm using the global keyword each time. Okay, that's something you need to take care about. What about this line? In case when the program started at the beginning, what if the user, without giving any element, would go for display the content of an array? Okay, what do I mean by that? What I mean to say is that when I executed this particular program, at first I came with the option number 1 because I knew that the array has got no elements. So it is very obvious that you need to add some element into the array. But what if somebody out of curiosity goes to option number 2 in spite of the fact that the array is actually empty? What would happen in that case? And that's the reason why I've taken this precaution, that is, if the length of the array is equal to 0, you would be printing the following statement. That's the reason it's there. Otherwise, what would happen, it will come to the else part. Like in this particular case, I have got a 3 item in the array, so naturally the length would be greater than 0. So it will come and simply give a call to the function called toList. So we have come across right now with 3 different functions. Just let's revision. The first one is to append at the end of the list or at the end of an array, just what we have seen right over here. Second, we are going for the insert in between the array, and third is to print the arrays to go for toList function call. That would do the magic, right? Okay, great so far. So let me hit the enter, and we get to see the array very much like a list. Often it gets confusing, right? But now we are going to come up with a third function. Third function is telling that how to read one particular element, and it is very much similar to that of a list, because in context to array as well as list there is indexing. So that's what we are going to follow right over here. So I will come over here and I will just check whether the length is greater than 0. In that case the program continues, otherwise it will just return the control out of this particular program, out of this particular function. Okay, so far so good. So now I hit the option number 3, and as I do that it will prompt me to enter the index that you wish to read. So that's the line that is getting executed, and whatever input I will give, that will get inside the index. It's very obvious reason. I will again go and check whether the index should be, well, you know that index of an array or a list should be always a positive number. It can be 0 or greater than 0. So I'm checking that index should be greater than 0 and it should not greater than equal to 0, and it should be length should be less than the array size. In that case there is no specific problem. So if I go and provide the index as 1, so definitely 1 is a valid within this particular range. It will come right over here and it will print the value that is called 11, right? I hit the enter and we get to see the value 11. That's really great. Otherwise it would have gone for invalid index. Okay, would you like to check that? Okay, let's go with that one also. So 3 I come up with, it's asking me to enter the index, and I don't have any value at the index position 5th. Well, actually it's not 5th, actually 6th, because 0 to 5 would be 6. Yeah, and it shows that the invalid index. That's really good. Okay, remember one thing, when I'm taking over here, I'm considering the first element to be a 0, the second one at 1, and the third one is actually 2. In this way it is going to continue. In the same order we will also go and perform the update, because update also need the same thing. We have the beauty of array and the list is that you can track the index, and once you get the index you can simply overwrite the value of that particular position, and that's what I'm doing right over here. Again, the array length is greater than 0, so for that reason this portion will not work. It will ask me to enter the index. I will just go and validate the index position, and whatever new value I have to take, I will take that. And exactly this is something what we often do in contextual list also, or any other programming language like C or Java. You pinpoint the array name, within the third bracket you provide the index and just overwrite the value. Straightforward, isn't it? And then you get to see the new data in the form of a list once again. So let me do that as well. Let's come to the position number 4. It is asking me to enter the index, and I've got 3 index, 0, 1, 2. So suppose I want to update the index number 1, so I will go with 1. 1 is 11. 11 is going to be updated. What the new value do I want? Well, I want over here to be inserted as value 99. So I provide the 99, and the new value 11 get overwritten by 99. That's how the update is working, right? And last but not the least is to go for the option number 5, that is the delete. So what happened in case of delete? So let's come over here, and we have got a very beautiful inbuilt function that is called remove. See, we are getting across all the functions that we often come across in contextual list, starting with append, insert. Append was adding that item at the end of the list, insert was adding in between the list, and then we came across to display the entire list is to list, and to override we find out the index and we override the value. And now to remove a particular item we go for the remove function, and here we are going to provide the index, or rather I'm not going for the index over here, I'm going for the value, that which value I would like to remove, provided that value actually exists. That also we need to check it, which I did not do it, and that's the reason why I have added a try catch fact. I added a try catch block, that in case if the value does not exist. So let's go and run the delete function, and I know that there is no value called suppose 11 anymore. If I try to do that, it will give me this particular exception, value error. What type of exception is this? Is the value error exception with the value 11 is not present in the array. So that's the reason why I went for try catch. It reduced, I don't have to run any linear search, or I don't have to check individual element, rather I can come up with the exception handling in this case, and it can resolve the problem. Okay, otherwise again let's go with the option number 5 once more time, and I do want to delete the value 99 this time. So I'm giving the 99, and I will left out with only 2 items in my array, and that is at 0 index the value 5, and at index number 1 we have got the value 22. So that's how we have performed the CRUD operation in context to array module, and we saw that the different functions that array is providing, and we also saw the very similarity between array with that of a list. So remember, when we talk about an array in Python, we need to incorporate the module array, then only we will be able to access all these functions that is provided by the array in context to Python. Okay, so that's all in this video presentation. In my next video, I will be talking more about the concept of list. That's what we will be focusing in my next video. Until then, have a nice time. Bye bye. Take care.